The coffee was still warm when Sean McKay hit the tile floor. The mug shattered beside him, ceramic shards skittering under the table. His mouth opened, half a breath, half a question, but no sound followed. Only a low, rattling exhale and the slow pool of blood soaking into the grout. The knife was buried deep between his shoulder blades, and the only person still standing was his younger brother, Lucas McKay. He didn't move, just stood there, chest rising and falling, sweat beading at his temple, knuckles white from how hard he'd gripped the handle. He let the knife go, watched it quiver in place like a cruel exclamation mark. Behind him, light footsteps. She appeared in the doorway, calm, almost serene. Isabel. She wore a thin silk robe tied lazily at the waist. Her long hair was still damp from the shower, and her face was blank, not in shock, not in horror, just present. Lucas turned to her. "It's done." Isabel didn't speak. Her eyes were on Sean's body. There were no tears. She stepped around the blood and into Lucas's arms like they had done this before. And that was the moment their story truly began. 6 months earlier. Isabel McKay once believed she had everything. A spacious home in the suburbs, a husband with a rising career in finance, dinner parties, stability, predictability. But no fire. Sean McKay was a good man, by most standards, hardworking, clean-cut, loyal. He loved routine, efficiency, control, the kind of man who ironed his socks and vacuumed in perfect lines. But good wasn't passion. It wasn't whispers down your spine or hands trembling with want. It wasn't secret glances across the table that made you forget your name. That came later, with Lucas, Sean's younger brother, the black sheep, the disappointment, the ex-bartender turned gig worker who hadn't stayed in one place longer than a year. He rolled into town with a duffel bag and a sarcastic smirk when Sean offered him the guest room, until he got back on his feet. Isabel had nodded politely, said all the right things, but when she passed Lucas in the hallway that first night, she felt something she hadn't in years. Danger. It began with proximity, accidental brushes, late-night chats in the kitchen. Then one night, while Sean was out of town, a bottle of wine disappeared between them. So did the space, and once the line was crossed, there was no going back. They were reckless, hungry, addicted, and they thought they could control it. Until Sean found a message, just one, Lucas's name, Isabel's reply, a moment too intimate for explanation. He said nothing, but he started watching, and Lucas noticed, which is why, on a quiet Sunday morning, as Isabel washed her hair upstairs and Sean poured his coffee in the kitchen, Lucas walked in, picked up the knife, and changed everything. It began with a towel. Lucas had just gotten out of the shower in the guest bathroom, steam still clinging to the mirror, the scent of his body wash lingering in the air. Isabel walked past the open door at the wrong, or maybe the right, moment. He hadn't bothered to close it all the way. She paused, eyes locking with his in the mirror. Lucas smirked. "Oops." She kept walking, but something had passed between them, unspoken, electric, a charge she hadn't felt in years. That night, as Sean snored beside her, Isabel lay awake with a thudding heart and a heat between her legs she didn't understand. It wasn't love, it was life. Over the next week, things escalated in whispers. Lucas began spending more time in the house. He helped with small things, repairs, groceries, cooking dinner when Sean worked late. He had a charm about him, raw and unpolished, the opposite of her husband's buttoned-up perfection. One night, Sean was gone for a conference in Chicago. Isabel poured 2 glasses of red wine and brought one out to the patio, where Lucas was smoking, staring out into the dark yard. "Don't tell me you're brooding," she teased. He glanced over, grinning. "Would it impress you if I said yes?" She handed him the glass. Their fingers touched. They talked for hours, about nothing and everything. Childhoods, bad choices, why Sean always played it safe, why Isabel married him, why Lucas never stayed long in one place. And at some point, the silence between them turned too heavy to ignore. Lucas leaned in, Isabel didn't move. Their lips met, soft, unsure, then hungrier. The kiss was quick, dangerous, but not enough. That night, Isabel stood in her shower with shaking hands, guilt chewing at her thoughts. But when Lucas brushed past her the next morning and whispered, "You taste like secrets," she didn't tell him to stop. She smiled. What started as flirting grew into an addiction. Every moment Sean left the house became a door they opened. Every lie Isabel told him felt easier. Lucas became oxygen, impossible to live without. They told themselves it was just physical. But Isabel knew better. One night, while Lucas traced her spine with his fingers, she whispered, "I wish I met you first." He kissed her neck. Then we wouldn't be having this much fun. Neither of them realized how quickly fun could turn into obsession, or how obsession could turn into blood. Sean McKay wasn't the kind of man who raised his voice. He believed in structure, in logic, in fixing things before they broke. But lately, something felt off. Not loud, not obvious, just wrong. At first, it was Isabel's mood. She'd become distracted, quieter, too quick to touch her phone, too slow to meet his eyes. When he asked about her day, her answers came rehearsed, like she was reading a script she hadn't written. Then it was the house. 2 glasses in the sink when he knew he'd only had 1. A faint smell of smoke on the patio, even though Isabel didn't smoke, and Sean never allowed it near the house. A towel missing from the guest bathroom. A locked office door when it used to be open. And Lucas. Always around, too relaxed, too comfortable, shirtless in the kitchen, teasing Isabel about her cooking, laughing just a little too long at her jokes. Sean caught them exchanging a look once, just a flicker, a moment. But it was enough. He didn't say anything. He didn't accuse. He just watched, quietly. One evening, he came home early from work. The house was quiet, too quiet. He walked upstairs and heard the faint hum of a shower running in the master bath. Isabel's voice drifted through the door. Not words, just laughter. Then, silence. When she stepped out, towel wrapped around her, hair slicked back. She jumped slightly. "You're home early," she said. Sean stared at her. "Yeah." She smiled, kissed his cheek. But something in her eyes flashed. Fear? He didn't press. That night, he waited until she was asleep and checked her phone. It was locked. It had never been locked before. The next morning, he asked Lucas casually, "Got anything planned this weekend?" Lucas shrugged. "Just some job leads. Same grind." Sean nodded, but his gut twisted. That night, he stood at the sink doing dishes, staring out the window while Isabel sat behind him, scrolling. Lucas passed through the kitchen and clapped him on the shoulder. "You okay, man?" he asked, voice light. Sean forced a smile. "Just tired." But his hands were clenched around a ceramic plate, hard enough to crack it. He didn't know the truth yet, but he could feel it, like heat under floorboards, like the quiet rumble before an explosion. And soon, he'd stop pretending not to see the smoke. Sean started recording everything, not in some dramatic cloak and dagger way, just quietly, methodically, like a man who had finally accepted that the life he built might be a lie, and he needed proof before it all collapsed. He placed a small voice recorder under the table in the guest house, timed to activate in the evenings when he knew he'd be out. Installed a motion-activated camera near the back patio, disguised as a bird feeder, checked browser histories, took pictures of receipts. He wasn't looking to explode the truth. He was building a case. Because part of him still hoped he was wrong. But hope was beginning to rot. Meanwhile, Lucas and Isabel were unraveling in a different way. What had started as a forbidden thrill had become a ritual, intoxicating, desperate. They met in parking lots, whispered over burner phones, stole every second they could. But now they were slipping, getting lazy, sloppy. Lucas noticed it first. Isabel left a lacy bra in the guest bathroom. Lucas found it and flushed it down the toilet before Sean came home, but the panic in his chest told him that was too close. "You're getting reckless," he warned her one night in his truck. Isabel shrugged, eyes tired, lips still red from their last kiss. I'm tired of pretending. If he finds out, he knows, Lucas. He's just waiting. Lucas looked away. He's not stupid. Neither am I, she said coldly. I've been his wife for 7 years. I know how he thinks. But she didn't. Not anymore. Because the next morning, Sean handed her a set of theater tickets. I thought we could go out this weekend. Just the two of us. Isabel blinked, caught off guard. Really? Yeah, he said, smiling faintly. You've seemed distant. I want us to reconnect. She nodded slowly. That's thoughtful. Just don't wear your phone out, he added casually. She looked up. Excuse me? He laughed it off, kissed her cheek, and walked away. But her skin went cold, and Lucas's words echoed in her mind. He's not stupid. That night, Lucas texted her. Lucas, we need to end this now before he ends it for us. She didn't reply right away, because Isabel knew something Lucas didn't. She wasn't afraid of Sean anymore. She was afraid of what she was becoming without him. And the longer they waited, the more dangerous the ending would have to be. It happened on a Thursday. Rain beat softly against the kitchen windows, and the air inside the McKay house felt heavier than it ever had, like it knew what was coming, like it had been holding its breath for too long. Sean stood at the stove, cooking dinner like he always did when he worked from home, chopping vegetables, stirring sauce. He moved with a quiet purpose, measured, methodical, patient. Upstairs, Isabel stared at her reflection. She hadn't replied to Lucas's message in 2 days. He'd sent 3 more since then, each more panicked than the last. Lucas, we need to talk. He's watching. I don't think I can do this anymore. Isabel deleted them, not because she didn't care, but because she already knew how this would end. Downstairs, Sean poured 2 glasses of red wine, set the table for 3. Candlelight flickered between the settings. Lucas arrived at 6:14 p.m. He stepped into the kitchen, soaked from the rain, hair a mess, breath short. His eyes flicked between his brother and the table. Dinner? He asked carefully. Sean smiled. Thought we could all eat together, like family. Lucas swallowed hard. Where's Isabel? Coming. Isabel appeared moments later, barefoot, wearing a simple black dress, her face blank, unreadable. They sat. For a moment, it looked normal. 3 people eating in silence, forks scraping plates, the smell of roasted garlic in the air. Then Sean set his glass down. I know. Lucas froze. What? I know about the 2 of you. I've known for weeks. Isabel didn't flinch. Sean looked at her. I found the messages, the receipts, the camera I put by the back porch. That was a nice touch, right? Lucas's mouth opened, then closed again. I wanted to believe it wasn't true, Sean said. But then I realized something. If it were anyone else, I might have forgiven her. But you? He turned to his brother, voice like ice. You betrayed me long before she did. Silence. Then Isabel spoke, her voice calm. So what now? Sean leaned back. That depends on Lucas. Lucas looked between them, chest rising and falling. His face was pale, his hands clenched. And Isabel saw it, the look in Sean's eyes. Not anger, not heartbreak, just punishment. Sean wasn't going to scream. He was going to ruin them, and he was going to enjoy it. That's when she moved, not in panic, in purpose. She reached under the table and placed something in Lucas's hand. Cold, heavy, metal. Sean stood slowly, eyes narrowing. Lucas didn't think. He reacted, and in one violent, breathless motion, he drove the knife into Sean's back. Sean gasped, stumbled, crumbled. Blood spread like ink across the tile. Lucas stood there, chest heaving, staring at the body on the ground. Isabel walked over and touched his shoulder. You did what had to be done. Lucas looked at her, eyes wide. No, he whispered. We did. She nodded. The kitchen lights buzzed above them, and outside the rain kept falling, soft, endless, like it was trying to wash away the truth. But some stains don't fade, especially when love and blood mix on the same floor. They thought they had covered everything. Lucas and Isabel spent the next 24 hours scrubbing the kitchen tile, tossing the bloody clothes, wrapping Sean's body in tarp, and burying it beneath the roots of a forgotten oak on a remote patch of land Lucas once used for hunting. Isabel filed a missing person report the next morning, tears in her eyes, voice cracking just enough to sound believable. "He never came home," she told the officer. "We'd had a small fight. I thought maybe he just needed air." The community sympathized. Sean McKay was respected, quiet, stable. His disappearance sparked news coverage, flyers, candlelight vigils. No one suspected the widow or the estranged brother. Not at first, but 3 weeks after Sean's disappearance, a sealed envelope arrived at the office of Caroline Braddock, a divorce attorney in downtown Charleston. It had been mailed the day before Sean died. Inside was a letter in Sean's neat, measured handwriting. "If anything happens to me, this is why." The package contained a detailed journal documenting Isabel's erratic behavior and increasing emotional distance. Surveillance photos from the backyard camera, grainy but unmistakable. Lucas, Isabel, kissing. A printed thread of text messages between the lovers. A flash drive with time-stamped videos showing late-night meetings, whispered conversations, and a recording of Lucas slipping into the house hours after Sean had left for work. It was a blueprint of betrayal and a warning. Caroline didn't hesitate. She forwarded everything to the police. The arrest came quietly. Detectives showed up at Isabel's doorstep early on a rainy Thursday morning. Lucas tried to run. He didn't get far. The trial of Isabel McKay and Lucas McKay became a media storm. The courtroom overflowed with spectators. Headlines splashed across television screens. Husband predicted his own murder. Lovers charged in chilling crime. The brother, the wife, the knife. The prosecution played the surveillance footage, read the messages aloud, showed the envelope, postmarked 1 day before Sean was stabbed to death. The jury deliberated for less than 5 hours. Guilty. Isabel was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Lucas received the same. When asked if she had anything to say before sentencing, Isabel stood, her voice steady, her face blank. "I thought we buried him." She looked at the attorney in the front row. "But I guess he was smarter than we realized." She sat down. That was all. Sean McKay never got to start his divorce, but in the end he got something more powerful. Justice. From beyond the grave, the end.